Welcome to the One Up Network, everyone. This is a special GDC 2007 edition of the One Up Yours podcast. And the first of them, it's coming to you on a Wednesday morning. You should be just now getting the Sony information. We've seen it a little early. I think everybody who went there at least has an opinion about it. Holy cow. What do you think, Shane? Come on, it's yours. It's PS3.
I don't know. It's not as good as Xbox Live.
Oh God! Stop trying to be me, Shane. Just go. Go ahead. This is your time. What is it? It's home. It's free.
Let the sun shine.
Okay, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. I mean,
people are watching it right now.
So what it is, it's a graphical avatar-based internet community, kind of like Second Life meets MySpace meets Xbox Live, where the central location you just kind of like walk around, meet people. You can video chat. You can voice chat. You can text chat. There's also, you can like wave your arms and do all these gestures. And in these central areas, you can like walk to a pool table and start a game and play pool with other people there, or play an arcade game, play bowling.
So I bought my PS3 to play pool online with people in home.
Well, it's one of the things. Or you can go
it's
like
free, Garnet.
It's free. That's
so
right.
There's other places.
The way it ought to be. It's
right.
free.
But, okay. Shut up.
I'm Shane Banhausen.
Shut up. There's other aspects. There's like a movie theater where you can go and watch like trailers of upcoming movies or user-submitted movies. They didn't have that running yet. They just had,
I was talking to them and I said eventually there could be public viewings of streaming full movies.
Right. So are we thinking this is going to be like a YouTube kind of thing?
No, beyond YouTube, I think. I mean, they were talking about like a communal experience where, you know, they could do a promotion around a movie and say, hey, we're going to be showing Spider-Man 3 at 7 p.m. Pacific time in the movie theater in home. Be there. It's your only chance to see it for free.
So morbidly obese people have no reason to go outside now because they can just have everything delivered to them via the home.
And why not, right?
It's Second Life. I mean, it is a reinvention of Second Life.
What's funny is Second Life looks shitty, and this looks good. I mean, it doesn't look as good as the best PS3 games, but like your avatar, you can really customize it to look like you, and it's a lot of detail there.
It's all like high-res textures. It's really nicely lit. I mean, it's a very nice sort of meta MMO. Right. I mean, that's what it is. It's a meta game that's massively multiplayer, and presumably there's going to be a lot of emergent stuff coming out of it as well.
Definitely. And for me, the most exciting part for me is the apartment you have. You have this little apartment, and you get to customize the way it looks. You put furniture, you buy furniture, you put it there.
The Final Fantasy XI element.
Yeah, you really buy furniture though. Like home is free, but guess what? Some of the shit you want to put in your home is not.
Right. You want that 70-inch Sony plasma screen on the wall?
For
you're going to pay
$32,000 in real life. You can pay $1.
You're going to Copenhagen Online. Yeah, Copenhagen Online for the home network.
So in your room, you can invite your friends there, and they hang out in your room, and you can chat with them there in a private setting, and you can play like the music you have on your hard drive, and like everybody hears it. You can take video files and like play them on your TVs. If you have a picture on the wall, you can take any picture from your hard drive or your camera, USB, whatever, put that on there.
So how long before there's cocks and assholes on the walls and streaming porn
minutes
and
seconds.
Beta starts in April, so I would say April.
But there is no way for them to control what you put in your room. You can really if you want to put just cocks on the wall, do it, John. No one's going to come visit you.
Hey, I'm not saying me, but, you know, if you wanted to share your porn collection.
Right. But so, you know, this is all kind of the meta experience, but from this world, you can start any actual PS3 online game. And be like, hey, let's go play MotorStorm, let's go
So wait a minute, from my PS3, I can start an online multiplayer game?
From home, from this graphical user interface.
So while playing my PS3, I can start an online multiplayer game.
You're retarded.
That's pretty awesome. No, that's a revolutionary idea.
But this is a revolutionary idea. Okay,
I can play with my friends online.
What this is kind of like is like the lobbies you go to in an MMO, like Phantasy Star Universe or EverQuest or these kind of things. It's a communal place, but then you have your private place. And there's lots of things to do. It's not just an empty room.
I mean, it's a hub for like I mean, this is a mechanic that is difficult to coordinate through live right now. I mean, it's very ad hoc. We could invite the four of us into Shane's apartment in home and say, okay, now we're going to play MotorStorm, and then quit out and go to home, and then the four of us would still be in the room and say, okay, now we're going to go play Resistance. So, like you said, it's a way for people to never go out.
It's a de facto, not matchmaking, but the couch system from Halo 2. This is a graphical equivalent of that, where you're going from game to game instead of just playing Halo. Mm-hmm. What it is it would be like the four of us grouping together for a night and then being like, oh, well, let's go play MotorStorm. Now, how the mechanics of this all work, like if since it's Shane's home, he dictates what game we're going to go switch to. I don't know. That's all still totally unclear. But like the core of creating these small group environments to game, there's really nothing bad that you can say about that.
The only detraction I can see, people think, well, it's a little slow to navigate because you're like walking around these places. But at any point, you can bring up a menu and there's like a world map and you can pick all the different places.
Sort of teleport there, basically.
Right, and some of the ones we haven't talked about yet is the Hall of Fame, which is their idea of achievements, and it's pretty cool, actually. It's a graphical representation.
It's a graphical representation that we've sort of seen the makings of in like what 2K did with the crib stuff back in the day. Let's not posture like the Hall of Fame system's revolutionary.
No, not at all.
But the potential for like neat little graphical representations is cool. They showed you this weird like Imperial Senate from Star Wars.
Right,
it was like
with
every PlayStation
achievement.
3 game and every achievement for all of them.
Because you see like yours, and like, you have these little spots where you pick which ones you want to display, and you can go and look at all the ones you have, but then you can look outside and like everyone that ever existed. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
But it looks just like the Senate in the friggin' prequel trilogy.
Right. Other things they showed us is the publishers or other companies, even to like a Coke or someone, could make their own place you go to that's set up for those products. So you go there and you can like test out EA's games or try these Coke-related fun activities.
One up yours.
Well, yeah.
Well, that was the other thing. They said that you'd be able to make a custom environment, and I mean, presumably this is just a way of taking the apartment idea and customizing it even more. But they didn't say what you would have to do to actually set up one of these custom things.
But I think theoretically, like if One Up Show wanted to have like a theater and everyone could come and watch the One Up Show premiere at a certain time, they could in this thing, and that's pretty cool.
Would we have to pay Sony for that?
I don't know.
That's the interesting thing. Sony's providing it for free, and how they're managing all this is still up in the air because they pointed out in numerous occasions the thing that there's all these advertising locations and embedded advertisement, and in order to get advertisers, they're going to have to reach a critical mass with user bases and how they're going to make money and keep home free, and if microtransactions are going to be like the fuel driving this economy that allows home to stay free. I mean, there's a lot of great questions that exist.
But there's obviously a lot of in-home advertising. You saw it everywhere. There's like video billboards, there's print billboards everywhere. It's going to be.
They said they were high def billboards, right?
They did say they were high def.
They looked really
yes,
good.
So if you go up close, it's playing a high def video.
Well, and they showed you could play the Casino Royale trailer on your TV, and it is the HD video. It's pretty crazy.
They had like Gran Turismo, Lair, all kinds like Spider-Man trailer,
Motorstorm,
all kinds of shit running in the background as you're walking through.
I mean, so instantly, I knew what.
You're so excited.
I'm so
You can't
excited.
talk.
Yeah. Well, it's late, and I've been drinking. But, we kind of knew what this was going to be going into it, and I had really high expectations, and I have to say they were met. It looks better than I expected to. I think the average consumer, when they see this, if there's someone who knows what Second Life is, they might know, like MySpace, I think they will think this is cool, and there's a lot you can do there.
I thought the avatars were cool. I mean, it was akin to the EA, what's it called, the face squeegeeing thing that they have in all the sports games.
Game face.
Game face.
It was.
So, I mean, you can affect the body and the faces and hairstyles, and they're still going to keep adding to that. And I've got to think there's going to be an iToy
they've got to add
face
they're gonna
mapping
definitely
thing
do that.
at some point. So, I mean, the flexibility on the avatar, I mean, it's way beyond me.
Right, but just like for me, looking at this versus Xbox Live, like the idea of a community, like it really physically exists here. Like you see like people walking around talking to each other. You don't see that in Xbox Live. And that for me is a big difference between these two services.
That's a huge. I agree. It's a huge difference, but I'm not sure that I need it. Here's the thing about home, and I'm not ready to say that I'm not coming out against it. I'm not coming out for it because it's such a. It's like one of those sci-fi shows. I felt like I was watching one of the I felt like I was watching William Shatner's Tech War or something. It's like, oh my God, they're going to create this crazy, fantastical world in cyberspace.
Didn't you feel like you want to try it? Like when I was watching, it was like, wow, I can't wait to make my apartment. I can't wait to invite my friends over and like have a party in my apartment with my friends.
Okay, yes and no. Yes and no. You asked me, did I feel like I wanted to try it? No, I really didn't feel like I wanted to try all the bullshit part. But to make my own apartment, I was like, okay, now the apartment part.
What's the bullshit part?
Dude, I don't need to wander around my crib and have another.
I want to I think people do want to wander around their crib. People want to have these emergent experiences.
I don't need to wander around a virtual version of my crib I can share with everybody. Where in some communal space we can play billiards.
But
and
look how
bowling.
huge Second Life is, and look how huge. Like on the PC chart, the top 5 of the top 10 games on PC were Sims games. Like people want that kind of communal sharing. It's not really a game; it's just fiddling.
And this
with
is very
toys.
Sims-ish. It is.
This is a way of them. It's another thing that Sony's trying to do that isn't necessarily aimed at the hardcore gamer. It's aimed at. It's like remove some of the barriers of entry, make it a little less scary. Hey, you can just wander around and look at things moving on the wall, and you can throw your TV down the stairs with the Casino Royale trailer playing on it.
I immediately
was that?
Right. I immediately thought there was going to be a lot of backlash from people who are used to online being a certain way, and you're like used to these paradigms. But the average person who sees this is going to think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really think so?
I really, really believe so.
I'm so torn here because on the one hand, I think, wow, this is totally crazy, and I can see the cool element of it, and I can see all the stuff they're doing, and I can see how you could get totally drawn into it. And the other side of me thinks, when I go online to play a game, I kind of just want to get together and play games.
Like, what they're going to do, Garnet, and what they're hoping to do is they're going to have you thinking, I'm not getting online to play a game. I'm getting online to do this other thing.
Right.
I'm just going to go and redecorate my apartment, and I might go play Mother
okay, now
Storm
maybe I'm
while
fucking
You don't
crazy.
have to start home to play an online game either.
I get that. I like the real world too. I don't know how much. That's always been my argument, and I like watching sci-fi. I like getting into all that kind of stuff. But then I watch it, and I think to myself a lot of times, why do I necessarily need this recreated world? I like the real world plenty fine. If I want to go,
I think you're just being devil's advocate and trying to say some stupid shit here.
I am not-
Seriously, man.
really?
Like, I think there's no negatives here. Like, what's the negative? It's giving you all these different options that you've never had before.
It's
on a
not free enough.
Yeah, there's
not free
It's
enough.
giving you this huge amount of options you've never had on a console before, and you're like,
It
"Oh,
is
I
a
don't
huge
know if
amount
I
of
want.
options.
I don't want this virtual world.
No, wait. I
here's,
didn't say
here's
that.
Shane again. You're denying yourself extra functionality.
You are. You're like, I don't know if I want all these free extra functions.
Shane, I said I'm not casting a verdict.
We're not
on it.
asking you to like stop living in the real world and move
I'm
into your
not
apartment
saying
on
that.
home.
I'm saying that if I just want to go home and play games, I don't know if I want to
Still
get.
can.
But you don't.
You're
I mean,
advertising for it. I just want to go home and
Yeah.
play games.
So the good thing is you don't. I mean, I think what you're saying would be if you had to go through the home
Right.
front end in order to do all this shit, then that would be a pain in the ass.
And I get what you're saying is you don't necessarily have to go through the home, and that's
Some
cool.
of it,
And-
though, you do. Right
Okay.
now. When can I get together with my friends outside of a game? When can I get together with my friends and go play a
That's
game
the one
with
thing
them?
is, will home replace the need for, or will Sony like say, hey guys, don't make lobbies in your games anymore, push people to home to do that?
Right. There's still a lot of unanswered questions in terms of mechanics and how we get from like the bare bones interface we have now to this amazingly complex interface that they just showed us. And
how do we-
it's a leap of faith to think it's all going to work in April when we get this beta.
And how do we pick up that functionality that is still missing from the PSN along the way? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just isn't
Right.
there.
I mean,
Like,
this is a quantum leap forward for Sony. It's almost like it's a bigger leap than I think a lot of us expected.
Look, there's some really cool elements. So before people start branding me all over the message boards with what I did and didn't like, the really cool elements are the home apartment part is especially cool because being able to express yourself personally through your living space is awesome. I think that
Did he
part.
say how you level up to those palatial things?
No, because when he showed like the third level apartment, it's colossal.
Dude, it's like the Wayne Newton house. It's like, oh my god, this
Yeah,
guy is
you have
like,
like
a sweeping
Xanadu.
staircase. Yeah.
yeah, it's like,
So do
hello,
you
welcome
presumably
to my
you
house.
buy that?
I would hope maybe it's
So you
unlocked
have-
through something. I
you're
don't-
buying a
Because
certain number of Sony
the basic
products.
apartment they showed was like a small room, and it had like a small deck on the outside that
Here's
overlooked
your
the
basic
water.
studio loft.
It's where I live now.
Right. Except
The
not in
other-
quite such a dodgy area.
Yeah, the
yeah,
other
no
one is
trannies
where
on
you
the
live.
porch.
Yeah.
There were no trannies or broken syringes outside your home apartment.
But then the big sort of huge sweeping staircase and chandeliers and huge TV. I mean, presumably,
thing was
it either
unreal.
it either levels you up when you put extra stuff in there.
Maybe
Or,
the amount of
has
time you
have
spend?
any of you ever played Second Life?
I have not.
Have you?
No.
I mean, I've not played it, but I think Second Life, a lot of it is just about how much you interact with it affects the way things change. But
You
But
buy-
there's
use
also
use
ownership.
The Linden,
Yeah.
There's
There's
like the Linden money to buy stuff.
Well, yeah,
Right.
there's
Your own
ownership,
money.
there's real estate. There's no real estate here. It's not like you have to like
So-
take someone else's apartment.
Let's carry this thing like to the opposite extreme then. So if it gets run away like Second Life, how is Sony going to handle the fact that they've created a digital world and have to manage, litigation, have to manage corporations that want to come in, have to manage property squatters? How are they going to handle that?
Well, this
And
is-
what's that going to apply?
That's all the Game 3.0 thing, which is, I mean, it's a cute way of describing taking a lot of the Web 2.0 functionality and trying to play it to a game world.
Okay.
I mean, they have to manage that stuff. I mean, and presumably, what's the name of the company they partnered with to do Home? Someone actually built it for them, right?
The molecular module guys?
No, that's the other
something
guys.
else.
But I mean, they went.
Grouper?
Yeah,
Grouper.
Was
Grouper.
Grouper was part of creating they're part of the group managing the user created content. I
Yeah.
thought later on.
So there's a lot of partnerships through this. But yeah, I mean, like this is a big undertaking. I mean, this is a game. It's not just a front end. This is a full-on game.
It's like It's like a meta game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge undertaking, and I think I think we've seen it now. We've had a chance to talk about it and say, hey, it's
Right.
fascinating.
Right.
It's huge.
When we actually get to try it in April, I mean, I'm very excited.
that's what I'm dying.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. Was before we go any further with it. Really, I think the point now is that we have to say, okay, let's check it out in April.
Right.
Let's see what we can do with it. Let's see what it's like when we actually start messing around with it and
Right.
playing
Well,
games
but
with
it's also it's not like this is the singular thing that's doing this. They showed us some other software that very much goes along the same
Right.
wavelength, which was SingStar again, which we've seen at DICE, and it was again about user submitted stuff. And
But that's not what we were really talking about.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah,
what
that's
we're
that
really
was
talking
not the
about
best thing.
is Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet.
Which-
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like if you try to explain it to me, I'd be like, what are you even talking about? Like
I think this could be one of the most important announcements they've ever made.
Really?
How
a game.
so?
Wow, that's a
Because
pretty big pronouncement.
It's actually I mean, particularly for Phil, who's been a big proponent of like changing the way things work and changing the dynamics of things, and this is a game that exists completely outside what we expect of a game,
Right.
and that you build. I mean, hopefully people have started to see the videos and stuff that are starting to hit online right now. But this is a game that you make as you play it.
Right.
It doesn't actually deliver a game, and it, as well as bringing the YouTube element of it, where you share things and you create these experiences, everything lives on after you've created it. So you build a level, you create gameplay within it, and then you invite other people to play it who can affect it further.
So to bring people up to speed, Mark Healy, who's behind this, is obviously from the Lionhead and Peter Molyneux school of let's build things, let's create things,
Like
let's
God game kind of
God
concept.
games and like maybe jumping a step beyond God games to let's give you a tool so that your imagination can completely run wild and let you enjoy creating
Right.
stuff.
I mean, on a base level, it's a multiplayer platformer, 2D multiplayer platformer.
But it's more than that. It's a toy. I mean, it's
It's an
like
absolute
when we were
toy.
talking a while ago about the fundamentals of play. I mean, not to dredge up the game literature thing,
Oh,
but
God.
but this is all about
Yeah.
play. It's like give you a bunch of tools, which it sounds like can be added to and redefined indefinitely. They can keep adapting this stuff.
it did have that flexibility. Look
Right.
like they could keep patching
They're going to
into
keep
the
patching
system.
stuff in, and
Well,
there's
yeah.
user-generated stuff with graphics and the things that you can slap on, like textures and stuff within the
Right.
environment.
You could take pictures from your hard drive and use them as stickers and put them on the environment.
But it's
I
like
think-
kids playing with toys that are alive. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. This is taking a little bit of The Sims and a little bit of lots of other things and sticking them together. And you start off with this tiny little environment and you go, okay, what can I do? I can move my little Voodoo Vince looking guy around and, what happens if I slap this here? And I can change this graphic. And then the gameplay mechanic comes out of you just playing with shit. I mean,
Right.
it's just unbelievable.
Well, and when they showed us two guys making a really small little area that was kind of fun and quirky, but then they went and showed us a longer level they had made earlier, and it was like a kind of a real level in a game.
It was pretty realized, dude. It was
right, with
pretty
these
detailed.
crazy set pieces, and like you interact with things in different ways. There's different ways to overcome obstacles, and
And I can imagine sitting down with one of you guys with this game and going, what would happen if we put a ball there and then prop this thing up against it?
Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to throw you up there and see what happens,
Well-
because everything is built on real physics and everything stretches, and like obviously there's things you can grab onto and there's inertia to everything.
Right. I've never seen a game at the Game Developers Conference that was so targeted at development, because this is a game about making games. I mean, really, like it's a game that says, "Hey, you can go develop a game right now using this."
It's like XNA stripped down even further. Like that's how I was thinking about it when they were showing it. It was like all the stuff that Microsoft's talked about with XNA and like
Right.
allowing the community to create
what I said
games.
about like 2 years ago at E3 when they were talking about Velocity Girl can design her own T-shirts and sell them to Tony Hawk. No, she can. That never came to fruition.
It never
Ever.
did.
Ever.
But now, I mean, with what we saw out of Little Big Planet, they during a demo of like all the functionality that it'll offer at some point, it showed a huge list of different patches on this world, is what they're calling it. And they were tracking the download numbers to the patches, like how many players were playing your patches, comments, and then it
Yeah, that was
scrolls.
very YouTube.
It
that
scroll,
stuff.
yeah,
It was
scrolls
totally
It scrolls
YouTube.
to the left in the demo real quick, and you see a number of sort options. And the most interesting one to me, and I was talking with Sony about it afterwards, was the sort by like developer-made levels. Now, if Sony continues to do what they're doing with the network and continues to have like premium developers working on little things for Little Big Planet,
Well-
having developers from the game putting up their levels that you download to mess with, then like a game experience that you might not have the time to create a game experience, but if that game experience is being provided to you, you're going to go mess
Imagine
around
the
with it.
potential for like the Killzone guys could say, hey, you play through our Little Big Planet Devil and you get to the end, there's a screenshot from Killzone slapped on the wall at the end of it. Because
Well-
you can take any graphic and apply it to anything in the game.
As we were leaving this event, we ran into Corey Balrog. He was late, and he's like, "Did I miss everything?" Like, yeah, you just missed everything.
And
Like,
how much did he pay you to get a shout out on the podcast?
No, well, it's funny, as I mentioned Little Big Planet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." I was like, "Yeah, you should put some crazy like God of War 2 torture devices in there." And he's like, "That'd be great." And it's like, yeah, exactly. They could do that. Like developers can enter this community and just same as me or you, make a level and it'd be cool.
I think the thing about Little Big Planet ultimately, though, for the broader scope, is it's going to be a matter of, are there enough people feeding levels into it to satisfy the demands of a big consumer base that wants to play it? Because your average person, seriously, is going to pick it up. Even looking at how easy it was to throw, it's easy to to
Right.
just fart around with and just I'm gonna fuck around. I'm gonna throw a sticker up over
but,
here.
it's gonna be
if you can actually build a level like what those
Yeah.
guys built, dude, that's a serious investiture of you're gonna have to be like designing it, planning it.
Today's word, investiture.
Well, I mean, but think about
I
it.
think that's investment,
I
Garnet.
mean, I think
that's a real word.
This is Garnet approaches user-generated content by applying new words to the English language.
I mean, it's still a little confusing how
wordsmithery.
how this is coming to market. Like Phil talked about how this fall it's going to be a download game, and then next year it's going to be a Blu-ray disc.
I'm gonna cut you off there. It's,
All right.
it's a demo this fall.
Okay.
Because
Okay, so
because,
that was
yeah,
the deal
Sam
was?
Sam was like freaking out because like, oh god, it'll be a full game this fall. They'll take all the best of the user stuff and press it on the disc. And I was like, that's not gonna. I was like, that's
That was
not
the
gonna
implication by the way it was delivered.
Yeah,
That was
in
the
the
implication.
PR and then talking to them afterwards.
But
It's
if
a demo
you-
this fall, disc next year.
If you read through all the game 3.0 stuff is all, it's like taking Web 2.0 and applying it to video games, and anyone that has been a part of any big Web 2.0 community or been a part of anything is, that early on, the content is shit. Look at any community, and there are a few people out of the thousands that are actually trying really hard, and what it needs is momentum. So what will happen with this game is it'll launch, and there'll be a bunch of stuff that comes with it, and people will exhaust that and go, everyone's just dicking around and slapping stuff on it. But then a few months down the line, there's going to be people like really putting some effort into this thing, and word will get out, and then it'll trickle down. It has the long tail built in. It's not like a traditional game where it's going to hit and everyone's going to go, yay, Little Big Planet's out, let's go play it, and exhaust it. It needs a life, and they need to keep feeding it.
The case study we should examine, and I know that I've dropped the ball on this as much as anybody else around this table, is we should go look at what happened with the movies, because it's similar to how the movies offered you this opportunity to play with it, and you knew there were going to be a core audience of people who, after the buzz died and after everything else, there's a core audience of guys who are going to spend the time to dig in, see what you could do with it. I would be very curious to go back now to the movies website and see what sort of content was genuinely created by hardcore
I think
people.
there's a much smaller barrier to entry here.
There is.
Complexity
No,
of making a
You're
level
absolutely
in this
correct. I'm
versus
saying
movies.
that's why I said as a case study. I
Right.
said as a case study. The other thing that came out of this is a sort of a emphasis, and it is the Game Developers Conference, a renewed commitment to giving game developers good tools to work with the PlayStation 3.
But they didn't really illustrate that in the best
They
way.
did- well-
What's funny is everyone I was sitting around was like,
time out. Before we go to the
Yeah.
illustration, let's talk about the idea just of them supporting
well,
it.
that's good because people obviously need help making use of the RSX and Cell, and the libraries that they're supplying are going to hopefully help people.
So I guess the only question now would be, and I'm in 100% support of them giving strong third-party developer support. Why did it take this long to get to that point?
It's only
And
been
that's
a few months, right?
No, it's
It's a few months after launch of the
Yeah, I know,
console.
but it ties in very much with what they did on PlayStation 1 and PlayStation
Okay.
2, where they've always had the optimizer tool, which they've always made a big deal about, where they throw the tools out into the environment and the guys get through launch, and then a little while after launch, and it happened very early in PS2, where the PS2 optimizer hit, where it's the tool for the dev kit where the teams can see how much of the power, and they can tune things based on
Right.
where the resources are going. So I think in terms of timing, it's very similar to what they did last time. Because with PS1, it was like a year or two in, and it was like, oh wow, suddenly, you're going to see a jump as people understand what it is that they're doing with graphics versus AI and and all the other stuff. And so it's and it's very Phil. I mean, this is Phil's big thing.
And as the gulf between first party and third party software becomes more and more apparent, they really need to help the third parties.
See, and you know how much I believe in that, Shane. I mean, I'm a big thing. I mean, Sony first-party games have a rock-solid reputation of
Right.
delivering.
But so far, third party not so much on PS3.
And that's my concern. They
yeah.
really need to come through for these guys. They need to give them the support. They need to give them the tools to tap into that power so that they can be competitive, so they can build that same caliber of game and be really successful with it. So what'd you think of Guerrilla?
Yeah, so then after showing us all these really cool, crazy new ideas, they show us a trailer of Killzone 2. And this is the first time we've ever seen a real trailer of Killzone 2 ever.
It was definitely in game.
Let me sum it up. I got it. Downgrade.
Total.
But like beyond downgrade, it was even like a bad video. I couldn't even tell what I was seeing.
Right.
I'm sorry. I expected Gabe Newell to walk out any moment and said, "There you have it, folks. The Source Engine."
Yeah, it had a very artifacted sort of AVI video look. I mean, they weren't showing it at the keynote. I mean, it was just for the press, just to get it,
It was a teaser that at E3
and it was
really
set up in the most apologetic way, like, this is an example of the tools, please don't use it to judge the game. And it's like, If that's the kind of caveat you need to put on early, you might probably don't want to show it to a bunch of really cynical journalists.
the thing.
So let's
Here's
say
what-
there was a kitchen where we shot pans off of hooks.
they were impressive. Like, there were some physics and particles going on, but like overall, it was a lot of slow motion people crumpling over.
Here's what they're
a
doing.
nice warehouse with some crates.
They're getting ready. I mean, at the end of the Killzone thing, it said E3. They're going to roll Killzone out of E3. Obviously, it makes sense. It wasn't even branded Killzone 2. It was just branded
called Killzone.
It was.
Yeah.
You're right. It was just
so.
branded
Here's the
Killzone.
thing: like they show us this, it's clearly artifacted video footage, so that we come on here and we piss and moan about it and tell you it looks bad. So then, when you see it at E3, you'll see something completely different, branded Killzone 2, and you'll shit yourselves and go, "Oh my god, look, it's amazing! This is a trap."
Are you calling clever self
trap.
sabotage?
I'm telling you that it's self-sabotage. Yeah, I'm standing by that. That this is an intentional move on their part. That's why we're the only people who get to see it. The media gets to see it, and that's it.
So we get a bitch. So what we should do is stop talking about it right now
All right. Well, let's just do that. No problem. Stop.
and move on and talk to the Microsoft stuff we saw this morning.
Well, do we need to start anywhere other than Mass Effect?
Oh,
My God.
The thing is, like, I kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. And I really
You were
like it.
so excited.
You wrote a 1,000-word fangasm to it this morning.
Not-
Well,
that's
I have to say I'm kind of responsible for adding a couple 300 words.
God, but yeah, no, it looks really great. There's a lot of stuff in Mass Effect that looks good, to the point where when we saw Lost Odyssey later that day, and seeing like a real-time in-engine cutscene in Lost Odyssey, that looks fine. It looks good, but you're like, oh, I can't control these conversations. Well, that's last gen. Like, I mean, Mass Effect and what Mass Effect is offering. Like, John, you're sitting next to me at the thing, like typing, like, oh my god, on your notebook, just next to my oh my god.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I mean, it's obviously got a little way to go yet, but they're really pushing the engine. I think that the mix and the homage to other things that they've done. There's a lot of Star Wars in there. I mean, it's got space magic, space zombies. Like aliens. What else was in it? I mean, there was like a lot of things. Like you could see a lot of BioWare influence to the demo. I mean, there's the fact that what they call them biotics,
Biotics,
which is the Force.
Yeah.
And then you have Spectre, the Defenders of the Universe. They're the Jedi.
I mean, do you think people will see this as clever homages, or
No.
is that all BioWare can do?
No, I mean I don't think is that all BioWare can do, but I think it's an interesting development of taking ideas out of the restrictive world of the Star Wars universe and saying, okay, if we could do anything with this shit, what would we do? And like there's things like the fact that he can throw up an energy shield and duck behind it. There's a cover system in the game, so as we've said before, cover is the new thing in games. So it has this sort of, sometimes it's real time, or it can be, or you can do it nearly all the way to it being practically turn-based combat.
Yeah, because I wasn't at the demo today. I was talking to Brian because I've been concerned that I don't want to control a squad that's too much
You don't have
micromanagement.
to.
He said I don't have to, and that made me happy.
Yeah, you
So
don't.
we're going to be talking to the doctors for the One Up show. I think it's going up today or tomorrow, where we're going to get them to talk about the combat a little bit more. But what we saw today, it sounds like you can choose to go and run in and shoot stuff, and you can target things, or you can pause the game completely and assign targets to everyone in your party, and then just let it get on with it.
Wow.
So you guys are in the mechanics, and I got to tell you, I was in love with this game already, but after leaving this, I am like, this might be the most hyped I have ever been for a game, because I was in love with it before, but watching this game is like, I didn't have to write about it. So I wasn't taking notes. I wasn't trying to do anything else. And the doctors put me in thrall immediately and didn't let go until it was over. I didn't get lost. It had such an incredible immersion factor because it never took you out of the experience.
Right.
There was at no point that you felt like you were playing a game. The point that amazed me, and I asked them about that, was the conversation system, because we've seen noted conversation systems, and by that I mean where it stops and it asks you for options. And what amazed me was they were interrupting conversations that the
Right.
NPCs were
Well,
having.
part of it is because the emotions are always mapped to the same direction. So,
Right, so
the
you
bottom right-hand corner of the selection for a conversation is always the be a dick option. So if you just want to blast it, because they were talking about what's his name, John Shepard, the main guy.
Yeah,
Right.
Commander Shepard.
They keep referring to him. It's like Jack Bauer in space. So you can be and they have
But
this,
it works.
and it works. So they have this, instead of the KOTORs, you're good or you're evil. In Mass Effect, you're either good or you're bad good. Like there's no evil option, but you can be like the pure and dancing through the flowers and being nice to everybody and only shooting the bad guys. Or there's you can fucking deck the guy for really
So
annoying
I
you.
can have my own unique brand of justice.
you could be cutting. You could be
Nice.
cutting the Russian's finger off.
Great.
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
awesome.
one of the things they showed is this guy that survived an attack on what's it called, Eden Prime
Eden
or whatever,
Prime.
which is
Eden Prime.
an Earth colony at the very beginning of the game that's attacked, and it's how you're inducted into Spectre, and there's this mission that you have to go on, and there's this guy, and he's like crazy, and he's like babbling about stuff, and they showed the same scene done 2 different ways to get different outcomes, and one of them was there's a woman who's a nurse with this guy who's babbling, and she barely even addresses the fact that he's being psycho. She tells you what to do, and you have to go to this spaceport. Then they replayed it, and essentially the main character was like, "What the hell is his problem?" And the guy was like, "Oh my god, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die." And he just like, "Shut up," and like flattened him.
He pulled up and he just cold cocked and was like,
Nice.
boom.
And that character has things that will come up later in the game, and he remembers how you treated him.
Yep.
So although it won't affect a sort of like a major plot point, it will affect potentially how helpful he's going to be to you. So it's things that we've seen in
Some little
Oblivion.
ripples. You know.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of it in KOTOR. We saw quite a lot of it in Oblivion. I mean, on that matter, I mean, you know, when we say, is it Oblivion, it's going to be kind of like Oblivion in space. I mean, that's a lot of what it is. That whole, you know, actions affect things, and you can tackle things in any order. It's very open-ended. But
it's a little more directed than Oblivion, isn't it?
you know, no.
No.
No,
They said
and
one
in
ship-
fact, it's like a big core mission, which is probably the same size, roughly the same size as Oblivion, with a bunch of side stuff that they're going to be able to keep adding to.
I think it depends on how you view directed, because I would actually say it is more directed, because my problem with Oblivion is always getting lost in it. I think in this game you'll be able to find your way through to
But
the
you can play
core.
Oblivion some people have played Oblivion by just following the story. And in that case, it's a 20-hour game.
That's true.
But you're not going to get any of the Thieves Guild stuff or any of that. So it does look like, you know, there is, in Mass Effect, there is the Spectre story, which is essentially
Right.
the Jedi storyline, which is your Defender of the Universe, what they call the Geth, the robot bad guys that are coming back to eat everybody. And presumably that has some kind of end thing. But then there's all this side stuff, which is artifact-based. So you can scavenge for stuff in the environments, and you can pick up broken weapons and shit like that, and there's a whole commerce system off the back of it, and so there's a lot of KOTOR-y stuff in there as well.
There is, and the whole idea of light versus dark has been done to. You have the names of them down.
It's Paragon and Renegade are the two sort of opposing forces.
And that was what John was talking about not necessarily being, you know, about going more of a direction of lawful and chaotic versus good versus bad. So they said that that's mapped to like multiple different axes,
yeah, it's
and there's
multiple.
all this
It's
kind
like
of.
a 3. Like they would have to explain it using like a 3D image where you're going to fall in this sphere of goodness.
Yeah.
So what else did you guys see today?
I think it's. But before we leave the doctors, can you imagine what this means for PC gamers who have Dragon Age to look forward to?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to throw that out
This is the
there.
direction that BioWare is going with this and Dragon Age, and then they alluded to, what they're doing with an MMO type game in the future. I think they're definitely taking things in a new direction.
I love what they do. I love the way they think about it. And like they think high concept, but at the same time they're thinking high concept, they're thinking have a good time and make a game people can go in and have fun with.
Mhm.
I really like that. Sakaguchi. It was pretty.
Lost Odyssey.
Lost
Mhm.
Odyssey.
Is it looking any better from TGS? Because I was
I didn't go,
famously a detractor.
all right,
of
I didn't go to
TGS.
the demo, and so make me care about this game.
Well, that's kind
Coming
of
out
telling.
this year.
It's Unreal Engine, right?
It is Unreal Engine. I thought that kind of like I heard that and I was like, well, that's surprising. And I thought, well, wait, actually, nah, it's not so surprising.
Sakaguchi said during the session that I sat on that he wanted Lost Odyssey to look as good as Gears of, or better than
No,
Gears
better.
of War.
He said he wanted it
And
better.
I snorted. I was like that a little bit and had to fake a cough.
So Shane, I
I
can't.
maintain
say
the status quo.
You were at least polite about it.
yeah,
He
absolutely.
was
It wasn't
polite.
open derision. It was hidden derision.
Yeah, that's the right kind, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I can't change your opinion about it yet, Shane, because all he showed today was
Cinemas, right?
yeah, it was the ability of the Unreal Engine 3 to do in-game cinematics, but in the game engine. Well, whoop-de-doo. I mean, we already
Right,
knew
we've
that,
been
right?
seeing that all day.
Right. So, I mean, that wasn't spectacular. What he showed was more Final Fantasy artwork and more Final Fantasy style characters,
Oh,
and
big shock.
right. So, I mean, there was no surprise there, and then there was the
The voice acting.
No, there was
is
the
being
ship.
Americanized.
There was
and
the ship
lip-synced.
underwater. That was totally episode 1, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Escape
they showed,
from Gungan
they showed
City.
like a ship underwater,
Oh.
and they were like, "Look, it's the technological part of the Lost
Well,
Odyssey
actually,
world."
very quickly, back to Mass Effect. Did you notice that Keith David was one of the voices in Mass Effect?
The Arbiters,
The
right?
Arbiter, yeah.
I did not notice that, but like
He knew it was the Arbiter. Oh.
No, because we talked about.
Oh, I thought you knew that.
It's nothing that. No, I don't know. I don't know stuff like that at all. So then we saw Blue Dragon Garnet.
Yeah.
You saw that.
I'm excited for Blue Dragon, though.
Are you really?
Yeah, I have a friend who beat the Japanese version, and he says that I'll love it. So I believe him.
I guess everyone was coming to me before going to this with like, so what are they going to change? What are they going to do different? And the big thing Sakaguchi-san said was, we're doing it faithful, which to him means that we're taking it over directly. So
I think they probably should have localized it a little more. It's a little too cute, I think, for the Xbox 360 audience, but I'm still excited about playing it. So,
what do you think makes it too cute? Because I think
have you heard the music? Have you seen the characters?
Okay,
have you heard the sound effects?
So I have, and I wanted you to just bring those up because Sakaguchi-san's approach is that, well, I modeled the animation and the characters after Pixar. I mean, as well as obviously.
Well, I mean, I don't think they should change the characters. I mean, they hired Akira Toriyama for a reason, and they're not going to change it. But I do think they could change like the sound effects and the music and make the voices less chirpy and cute. And I hear the voices in the US version right now are pretty Saturday morning cartoon. So we'll see.
So one of the things that he brought up was how he wanted to, when he was auditioning and selecting English voice actors, was to have them model against the intonation of the Japanese character actors, so they would have that same feel, so it would have the same pacing, so it would have the same overall audio image, I guess, so to speak. And you're saying you don't think that plays?
Well, I mean, it plays to me, and it plays to people who would play something like Chrono Trigger, but are those the people who play Gears of War? That remains to be seen. Or the people who play Mass Effect, that remains to be seen.
You know what? The person who plays Gears isn't going to pick this up, are they?
I doubt it.
I will.
Well, I meant as a general picture, we're talking about the person who played Gears.
But hey, they're expanding their market, so there you go.
Anything else you wanted to hear about? I mean, other than that,
Well, so that was it for today, and then there was the RPG session at the end of the day where.
So Luke, you've been.
Oh, sorry, no, you guys still Fable 2?
We can't talk about
that. We can't talk about that.
Yeah, we can't talk about Fable 2. That's tomorrow.
So Luke, you've been talking up this RPG roundtable as Microsoft's big coming out at GDC, where they're going to really show their guns. No, yes, you did.
I don't think so.
Yes,
I don't think so.
Tail of the tape speaks differently. So
I think you have to listen.
I
to
heard
that.
you might have been dozing off during this one.
No, Brian was dozing off. I was pretty bored too, but I can't really say what I want to say about it because it's rude, and I've gotten in enough trouble for that recently. John?
I don't think
Fuck! Wait, hold on.
Luke's biting his tongue. What's happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it actually achieved what they were hoping it would. And I think I think the idea was very noble, which was let's get these great minds of role-playing games together in a room and get them talking about what it is that makes up, the future of role-playing games. And it was all going to be very pie in the sky, and it didn't work out that way.
Energy never happened.
The guys have a lot of things that they weren't. I mean, the only guy that was sort of completely unfettered was Dr. Ray from BioWare. Peter Molyneux wasn't really allowed to talk much about Fable 2 except in very broad terms. And then Sakaguchi, I mean, his English isn't that great, so there was sort of very stop-start where he was going through his translator. So it wasn't really an effortless conversation, just sort of riffing on what role-playing games were going to be. It just became here's what we're allowed to tell you about the games that we're currently working on. And it sort of lost its energy, and I don't think it quite pulled off what Microsoft wanted to.
Another thing that happened today, on the juxtaposition of the PlayStation Home announcement is the Xbox Live Gold PC announcement.
Yeah, the PC stuff finally came through the pike, and that is $49.99, like we talked about, expecting to be for Gold, and then free for Silver. And then that's also if you already are using Live, if you're already a Live user, you won't have to pay to use it on the PC. But if you want to play Live anywhere, I believe you have to buy the Gold subscription. But like you said before the show, why? Like, why would you want to play Live anywhere?
Plenty of ways to play games online
at this point. It's not necessarily something they've incentivized.
I don't think there's anything new to say about this that we didn't say last week.
No, this was a big part of their E3 strategy from last year. They devoted a whole bunch of time to it, and it just hasn't really come to fruition.
So as long as we're on online services and online communities, let's wrap it up then, coming back to home for a second. First opinion, long-term, where do you think home's going to be in 2 years?
Wow, I think it's going to grow exponentially and be like a really big meta world where you can buy shit and talk to people, and I'm very excited about it.
Where do you think home's going to be in 2 years?
Similar. I think people are going to be experimenting with gameplay ideas, like throwing toys into an environment and seeing how the community reacts to it. I mean, it's a way beyond a community talking about something. You can provide a mechanic that the community can interact with. And they can watch what people gravitate towards. It's like, here's a shooting range and there's 10 different guns. Which one does everyone want to go shoot? And then take that gun, put it in the game they're working on.
Or a possibility, like in my apartment in 2 years, I could have all these different things that we can come and play with in my apartment. And I could maybe like, hey, you want to borrow this thing I have? And you can take it to your apartment and show your friends. And it's a game you play online.
A lot of potential.
Luke, 2 years home.
Scaled back, and it'll just be like Xbox Live or the Xbox Live.
Wow.
I'll dissent completely.
And I'm going to say that I think it's actually going to wind up very commercialized. I think that's what's going to happen is they'll have this ideal and it'll come out and it'll be very, altruistic, and they'll have lots of ideas of doing community stuff, but ultimately it'll be the money that comes back to roost, and it'll be a very commercialized environment, and that's what'll separate it from being just a good community. Not that it'll be a bad community, but just from being a community-centric thing, it'll be a very shopping mall sort of experience.
It's going to be very monetized.
It's going to be very monetized. I think it has the potential to be very monetized. That's what we think. Let us know what you think on boards.oneup.com. This is Garnet. We've got Shane. We've got John. We've got Luke. We'll be back with you again before the end of GDC. And then on the final day of GDC, it'll be a late show Friday if you guys are waiting for the show, because we're going to record it Friday afternoon after we've been through everything, do a full show, maybe have some guests for you. Maybe have some surprises. We'll see what we can hook up for you. But until then, check in boards.oneup.com. Let us know what you think about Home, Mass Effect, whatever else is bothering you or whatever else you're thinking about for GDC. So until tomorrow, we're out.